invite you to stand up as we sing some Christmas carols. Yeah.
Hold on, everybody. Before we get started, I just have one quick technical thing that I'm going to work out really quick. So look at somebody next to you or behind you and talk about two things. One, what is your favorite Christmas dessert? And two, topic of your choice.
Favorite Christmas tradition?
Holden. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. Did you guys land on some good Christmas dessert topic? Excellent. I cannot wait to hear about them later. I hope you tell me all of your best favorites. Let's go ahead and get started.
Children weep no more. Hope is in the horizon. Weary world, behold your promised Messiah. Angels, let your song begin. Hear breaks the dawn of salvation. Darkness reigns no more, for Jesus is greater. He is greater. Angels, let your song begin. Here comes heaven. Christ is born in Bethlehem. Here comes heaven. Angels, let your song begin. Here comes heaven. All creation worship Him. Here comes heaven. Here comes heaven. Here comes heaven.
You guys can go ahead and take your seats and for announcements.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome to Kairos. I could not be just more glad that you guys are all here tonight. We just love you so much. We're so excited to worship with you all. I'm a little sad that this is actually like our last Kairos of the semester, but we will be back in January, so do not worry about it. Sorry, I should introduce myself, Nicole. Also, my name is Nicole, and I'm the Kairos coordinator here at Hope Ames, and I'm joined by my lovely friend Ivy. I'll let her introduce herself and get kicked off with announcements.
Yeah, I'm Ivy. I'm a sophomore here at Iowa State, and we just have a few announcements for you tonight. The first one being it's our last Kairos. So sad, but if you're from the Des Moines area or like the Ames area, we're gonna have a few hangouts in West Des Moines over break. We are gonna go to Revive into Smash Park after. That's December 28th.
Yeah.
And then we're hoping to go ice skating on January 5th, which would be so fun. So stay tuned on our social media for that.
Yes, we'll be posting about it too. But if you are in the Des Moines area, we'd love to hang out just over break too, if you need something to do while you're on break and everything. Our next announcement also has to do with something that's after break here, but that is a class that we're starting at Hope Ames called Alpha. We talked about this last week, but Alpha is a class that anyone is welcome to join, and it's really for just a space to ask some of those big questions about life and God and the Bible, and just like a very safe space. So whether you feel like you've grown up in the church and know a lot, or maybe you've this is your first time in a church, you are welcome to join this class. Or if you know somebody who you're like, I think it'd be really fun if they took that class with me, or I think that they would just really enjoy that safe space too. They will be meeting here starting on January 8th on Monday nights at the link, and there's a free meal every Monday night too. So you can learn more information about that online, and you can register for that ahead of time. But yeah, we're super excited about that class, so I hope that some of you guys sign up.
Yeah, and our last announcement is the Abaco missions trip, which I'd love for you guys to sign up. I'm actually signed up and I'm super excited, but it'll just be a great opportunity to give back and just get closer to God and just explore a new place. It closes on January 24th, so get signed up. If you are even considering it, be sure to be praying about it, talking to your family about it, or reach out to Nicole if you have any other questions too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited for that. Those are all of our announcements. But before we lead on to worship, I've seen some really great sweaters out there. So if you or maybe a friend around you is wearing a nice, ugly sweater, we're going to have a little competition up here, and there's some gift cards for the winners. So if you're wearing an ugly sweater, come on up. Stand right here. Nudge your friends if they're not. I see some really good ones out there. Oh, yeah, I love it. Come on up. Come on up here. Oh, yeah. You guys are great. Thanks for participating. Okay. You guys look really, really great here. Okay. Oh, there's so many. So many. We love it. Here, let's form a row on the front here too, on the ground. Yeah, they'll be able to see you. It'll be great. I'm so impressed, guys. They're really excited about this. Okay, we're gonna do a classic little applause-o-meter, okay? And so make sure everybody get claps, but clap a little bit harder for the people that you think that are worthy of this. So we're gonna go ahead and start down here. We're just gonna go and then I'll pick a couple finalists, okay? That way it's gonna be a little bit more exact, because there's so many of you guys. Clap for this sweater right here. What is it? Oh, beautiful. Here? Okay. Oh, we got a lot. We got some fun. I like that one. That's so fun. What we got? Oh, fun. I can't even see your guys' sweaters. Oh, it must be a good one. Over here. Oh, you know, oh, and these two are together. A lot of applause. Okay, I'm gonna just here. Oh, I got a nice cat. Next. Got some lifting Santa Claus next here. Oh, wow, that was good. Okay, keep going. Let's see. Here, Ivy will keep going.
They are together.
Oh, okay, we like it. And last couple. We got claps. Let them see it. Let them see it. Oh, they're a duo. Nice.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'm just gonna, they're all so lovely. You guys stay. You guys stay. I like the duos. It lights up. Stay. You guys were pretty good. You guys were good. Who else got a lot of cheers? Okay, I think over here. Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry. Wait, oh, and the cow. The cow was really good too. Okay, final round. If I told you could stay, otherwise you guys are really great for participating. Thank you so much. This is hard, guys. Everyone's so nice. Oh my gosh. They're literally all so good. I love it. There can only be a couple winners. Okay, you guys on the front, come up here. Come up here. This is so hard, guys. Okay, cheer again for your favorites. There can only be two. I have 2 gift cards, okay? Everyone else. All right, the cow. Pretty high, okay. This one, lovely. Pretty good, okay. The shark. Oh, let's get to it. What is this one? Oh, a beautiful little truck. I don't know what's on that. I like it. The party animals here. Okay. I feel like that was more naughty or nice. Kill it. There we go. Our nope cat that lights up. Lift or no lift? Oh, pretty good. Sorry, man. It's great. The cat. And then our duo over here. Okay, I feel like, Ivy, help me.
We might need another round of finalists here.
Okay. I feel like the cow and these two.
Shark for sure.
And who else was really? They're all so good, guys. I'm sorry, this is hard. Okay, which one? Yes, and the nope one. Everyone else, you guys did so great. I'm so proud. Okay, our final 5 here. What do we got? One last time for the gift cards. Our cow. Pretty high. What is it again? Tell your.
It's deer. I'm Kale.
Kale and the deer sweatshirt. Clap for Kale. And the shark. Great, okay, it's a lot. Not your nice. Clap for Kaylin. There we go. And the nope. Okay, it was all really good. I think it's the cow and our beautiful light up cat over here. It was really, really great. Thank you guys all for participating. Let's all go ahead and stand up because you guys are all winners in Jesus' heart. And we're gonna go ahead and get on to some worship. There you go, great job.
The first Noel, the angel did say, was too certain for shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their seed. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Lord of heaven and earth. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Savior of the world. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Lord of heaven and earth. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Savior of the world. You sing. All hail King Jesus. All hail Lord of heaven and earth. All hail King Jesus. All hail Savior of Jesus, before we move on, we just want to acknowledge the holiness of this moment. We set aside anything else that is calling for our attention, anything else that is calling for our focus. And we just silence and quiet our hearts before you to remember that you are King and you are so worthy of the praise. You are worthy of our attention and of our focus tonight, God. Our scripture reading tonight comes from John chapter 1, verse 1 through 5 and 14. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. So the Word became human and made his home among us. He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son.
It was my cross you bore, so I could live in the freedom you died for. And now my life is yours, and I will sing of your goodness forevermore. Oh, worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name. Worthy is your name, Jesus. You deserve the praise. Worthy is your name.
Will you pray with me? Dear God, your name is so worthy, eternal. I ask you tonight, whatever path we're going down, whether it be a new semester or a new stage of life, God, I ask you to show yourself and walk. We know you're walking beside us, God, but to see us and hold our hands and just have us see you in every single moment of our next path, even if it's rocky or maybe it feels so straight. God, I ask you to help us to see you in every single moment of life. You are so amazing. God, your presence is so bright and so gracious and so loving, and so we just thank you for this moment today and where we are. In your name we pray. Amen.
For the final time in 2023, let's give God praise for this band, huh? Good people, good music, good vibes. Before we get started with tonight's message, I want to tell you my name's Danny. I just love that I get to hang out with you, and I want to ask you this question. I want to invite you to discuss this with one another. What is the best gift you've ever given? What is the best gift you've ever given somebody? Go ahead, discuss that, and we'll get started in a few moments.
Can I read?
Left side! Left side! Oh my God! Left
The 90s were crazy, man. You should have been there. It was so nuts. What's the best gift that you've ever given? Maybe what's the best gift that you've ever received? You heard this in the Bible reading tonight. God's making it clear to us. The absolute greatest gift that he's given us, we read about in John chapter 1, verse 14. It tells us the Word became human. The Word, God's spoken word, the clarity of who he is, became human. He made his home among us. He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness. And we've seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son. He's being clear to us. The greatest gift that you've ever received, the greatest gift you will ever have, the greatest gift that could ever be given is his son, Jesus. And we're going to be exploring that a little bit as we reflect over the Christmas story a little bit over the next few moments. And I want to dive deep a little bit, at least for a few moments here, into why is that? Why is this such a special gift? What is it that you really want? Maybe what is it that you want for Christmas, but even deeper than that, what is it that you want for your life? A couple of years ago, Forbes magazine asked 1,000 of its subscribers, what do you want in your life? More than anything, what do you want? The top answer from their 1,000 subscribers was, I want to know that I matter. I want to know that I'm important. I want to know that I have significance, that I'm making a difference, that my life matters. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's actually a very good thing. This goes along with what the Bible tells you. God thinks that you matter. We've looked at this verse before. This is in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. It says, we are God's masterpiece. Go ahead and say that. I am a masterpiece. Come on, say it like you really believe it. I'm a masterpiece. Now look at someone next to you and say, and you're a masterpiece too. Now pinch their cheek. No, I'm just kidding. All right. We are God's masterpiece. He's created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. You are a masterpiece. You do matter. You do have importance and you do have significance. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. We've talked about these things before. I think that it's kind of funny, some of the tiny little efforts that we make to try to make it seem like we matter, try to make it feel like we're significant, maybe even try to make it feel like we're unique. Did anybody share this within the last week? This is Spotify Wrapped. Everybody, I know you did. It was everywhere. Everybody is sharing their Spotify Wrapped. I did not share mine because it's all Coldplay and Creed. You know, it's not as cool. Will you take me higher? It's, again, the 90s. It was a crazy thing. You had to be there. I actually don't use Spotify. I am a grown-up, tax-paying adult, so I use Apple Music. Come on. By the way, any of you have a free trial for Spotify I can use? Help a brother out. You know what I'm saying? But like Spotify, and do you notice this when Spotify Wrapped comes out? It is like your ultimate hype friend. It's like, wow, dude, you are a pioneer. You're a trailblazer. There is not one genre that can contain you. The human languages simply cannot define your essence. Anyway, your top artist of the year was Jonas Brothers again. What's a man gotta do? You know, just me? Jonas Brothers? All right, come on. There's a few. Anyway. Like, it makes you feel like, oh, maybe I'm significant, and then you, like, see everybody else's stuff, and you're like, well, I don't know. Maybe I'd be significant if I was on somebody's Spotify Wrapped. But everybody has a Spotify Wrapped, or Apple Music people, your replay. Way better, way better. But I'd feel significant if I was on somebody else's, but I'm just sharing this. Now, go with me here. About 2,000 years ago in ancient Rome, if there was a culture wrapped, right? Not just Spotify Wrapped, but a culture wrapped. The top figure, the most influential being for every single one of them, hands down, would have been this guy. His name's Caesar Augustus. And we read about him in the Christmas story. Luke chapter 2, verse 1. He's like the first character we meet in the Christmas story according to Luke. It says, at that time, the Roman emperor Augustus, Caesar Augustus, if he had an artist name, I think it would be C. Augie. He throws it down hard. Anyway, so Caesar Augustus, he declared that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. Everybody was under this guy's control. Everybody was under this guy's influence. At just the speaking of a single word, millions of people would have responded to him. And they did. He said, I would like to take a census. So everybody had to go back to their hometowns and they would be counted. And we would find out just how many millions of people were listening to this guy, Caesar Augustus. Everybody knew he was important. Everybody knew that he mattered. Now, among the millions of people that had to listen to him, legally obligated to listen to him, were these two young, poor, probably scared Jewish people. And their names were Mary and Joseph. You've heard about them, but other people hadn't heard about them 2,000 years ago. They were nobodies. It says because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go back to Bethlehem. This is his hometown. He had to go back to Bethlehem, and he took with him Mary, to whom he was engaged, who is now expecting a child. See, to us, Mary and Joseph, they're these huge figures in the Christian faith. And yet, to people back then, these were nobodies. You think about Bethlehem and you're like, oh, well, that's the place where Jesus was born. It's a huge place. Bethlehem back in those days had no more than like 100 people. Even today, only 25,000 people live in Bethlehem. Back in those days, this was a podunk, no good for nothing town. People didn't come from Bethlehem. Think of like western Nebraska. There's just nothing there. It's just torture and endless until you run into the Rocky Mountains eventually. But just think of that. Mary and Joseph were nobodies from a nowhere town. Like, they weren't important to their culture. And you know this because as you continue to look at these clues to the story, look at how they were welcomed into the city. When Joseph is having his homecoming, people aren't like, Joey, our guy. No, he has a very pregnant fiance. He has this very pregnant woman that he's traveling with, Mary, and she gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him snugly in strips of cloth and laid him in a manger. Laid him in a manger because there was no lodging available to them. They walk into the city. It's very clear that they need help, but they're so insignificant. They don't matter to the people who are there that even this very pregnant woman isn't approached with hospitality and welcome and help, but rather they're just like, hey, there's like a back shack where we keep some animals and you guys could stay there. This is how God enters the world. And that's surprising, isn't it? Are you following this? Are you seeing this juxtaposition of Jesus to Caesar Augustus? Caesar Augustus lives in the comfort of the palace, and people have to listen to him. Meanwhile, Jesus is born into trauma. He's born into drama to these teenage parents who are nobodies from nowhere, not appreciated, not seen as significant. Why does God show up in a place like that? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense until you start to think, what is God trying to accomplish in Christmas? See, when God enters into this world, from the very first breath that Jesus had, he walks into a world where he is misunderstood. Unwed parents, a teenage mother. He's born into poverty. He's marginalized from the first breath. He's misunderstood. He's left out. And why? In being misunderstood, God knows what it's like. He actually knows what it's like to live in a body and have someone look at you and say, you don't matter. You're not significant. In God being misunderstood through his very birth, he understands you. Have you ever felt marginalized? Have you ever felt left out? Have you ever felt insignificant? Have you ever felt like you don't matter? God coming into the world this way shows you matter. It's like he's inviting us to cross this line from wondering if you matter to really believing it. Have you ever had an experience like this where you believed that you mattered? Finally. I remember when I was a kid, so my dad and my brother and I, we grew up in, like a lot of like dads and sons, they go and they golf together, right? For us, like my dad took us to NASCAR races, and we loved NASCAR races. Jeff Gordon, my childhood hero, my adult hero. I try not to pray to him, but sometimes I accidentally do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is bad. So we'd go to these NASCAR races growing up, and if you got a ticket to a NASCAR track growing up, like you could go almost anywhere. You could walk through the pits, you could walk on the track, but then there was like this gate, and you couldn't pass this gate. Because at this gate, on the other side of it, that's where the drivers walked. And you could get right up to the gate, and you might just catch a glimpse of Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte. Like you might actually see these guys. Again, you guys, the 90s were nuts and NASCAR dominated. You might get a glimpse of them, but they didn't know that you existed. They were far away. They were just these distant, powerful figures. And maybe you just caught a glimpse of them. And maybe for you, that's how you think your relationship with God is. God is just a distant, far-off being. And he stays far away where the important people are, where the important figures are. But this is not who our God is, and we know that because of Christmas. See, a long time ago, people would have been wrestling with these same things, feeling like maybe God is just far away and I don't belong in the presence of God. He's simply too holy. That word holy is a church word, and we use it a lot. And maybe it just bounces off of walls for you, but it has a very simple meaning. Do you know what holy means? It means set apart. Maybe you're thinking, well, there's nothing set apart about me. There's nothing significant about me. Nothing matters about me. Couldn't be me. Holy? No. Now, back in those days, people, they couldn't have thought that they were holy either. In fact, they had this temple. This is what the temple looks like. This was like the center of the religious world. This is the temple. And in the temple, they had all these different walls, and certain people could enter certain places of the temple. But then there was that one spot, a gate, if you will. And in the very, very core of the temple is this place called the Holy of Holies. set apart from the set apart, if you will. And it was a place for only the absolute holiest person, because this is the place where God's holy presence resided. This was in their tradition. And once a year, only the holiest high priest could walk into the Holy of Holies to actually go through that gate. Everybody else just had to watch. Say, well, you're far off, you're far away. And this one high priest once a year would go into this space and enter into this space and make a sacrifice to God to try to allow the rest of the people to continue to be holy, to continue to be set apart. And then they leave, and they just stay far away. And for them, it made a lot of sense. Maybe you're hearing this like, this is just crazy. Why do they do things like this? But think about it. For them, think about the God that they heard about growing up. Think about all these stories that maybe you learned in Sunday school if you grew up in church. Think about the God who created the universe. He just spoke the universe into existence. Think about the God who freed his people from Egypt, as we've talked about here at Kairos. Think about the God who split the Red Sea. Think about the God throughout the Old Testament stories who's raising people from the dead through the prophets. Think about the God who casts judgment on evil nations. Think about the God who's matchless in power. So they're like, of course we couldn't enter into that God's presence. One of the stories that they learned about growing up would have been the story about Moses. And in the book of Exodus, Moses goes into the presence of God, and Moses is like, God, I want to see your face. And God's like, you can't bear the weight of my greatness. It would kill you. You cannot see my face. And so Moses just simply sees the back of God. And when Moses comes down the mountain back with the people, he's actually glowing for like 3 days. Like, oh my goodness, this is where the Bible loses me. He's glowing because he was in the presence of God? Really? Well, think about it. What happens to you when you walk into the presence of greatness? What happens to you when you see something so beautiful it actually takes your breath away? Something is physically happening inside of you, isn't it? You're breathing heavier. Your heart rate picks up. You ever seen somebody that you just love madly? I think about the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I think about my wedding day. I looked in the mirror and I was just blown away. I'm kidding. This is my wedding day, and it's just, as I was looking at, yeah, I know, thank you. That's great. She's pregnant, so she's watching from home tonight. She's very, very pregnant, like Mary. Anyway, okay, sorry. I hope she's watching. Hopefully the internet went out for a second, you know. But for me, it's like, why was she so beautiful for me in that moment? It's not, I mean, like, yes, of course, like, visibly, I think she's beautiful. But I could just see her, and my breath is taken away, and I'm smiling, and you could say it was like I was glowing. And I actually started to lose control. And when you're in the presence of something so great and something so beautiful, something actually happens to you. It's like you physically change. I started to look crazy. I started to look like this when I saw her walking down the aisle. I was going nuts. Take that picture off the screen. Go to the next slide. I don't need to see my face like that for too long. When you walk into the presence of such beauty, of such greatness, something happens to you. Is it so surprising to think that if you were to stand in the full presence of God, the one whom everything great, everything beautiful, everything good comes from, is it so surprising to think that when you'd walk away from that, you'd be different? You'd shine, you'd glow. That's what happens. And God says, yes, you. You belong in that kind of space. You belong in this kind of holiness. You get to cross the gate. Growing up, I'm going to these NASCAR races, and I never walk past the gate. About 20 years later, my brother took a job with NASCAR. Some of you guys know this about my brother. He owns a film production company now, and he gets to make films and documentaries with massive and major sports stars and plenty of other things also, but he spent time working with NASCAR. And that was like a dream come true for probably him, but definitely for his little brother. Because when it comes to my brother, I'm totally a moocher. So I call John every now and then, hey, can you get me tickets to this race? He's like, yeah, let's go. So we go to the race, you know, we're at these places, we're seeing these things that I've seen since I was a kid. And sure enough, we get up to that gate. And John, being who he is, he actually was getting to know like these drivers and these racers and got to know them very well. And we get up to this gate, and I stop because that's what I'm trained to do. I just stop. And he keeps walking. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, what are you doing? I don't belong past there. I'm not in that presence. I don't get to go to those places. John looks at the security guard who's right there. He lifts up this card that has his picture on it, and he looks at me and he goes, he's with me. Let's go. And the security guard looks at me and goes, come on. Right? Oh my goodness. Like, I know that I separated myself from my brother so I couldn't get him in trouble. I'm like walking up to all the drivers. Hi, I'm Danny. What's your name? What's your phone number? Can we hang out? You know what I mean? Like, I met Jeff Gordon. He's like this tall. It's crazy, you know? I'm like, let me hug you and hold you. It's just, you know, I'm like, oh, such greatness and beauty, you know? Like, I mean, truly, I'm like blown away. It's amazing to be in a place like that. And God's saying, I want all of you to be in this. I want all of you to have that kind of experience, to come into a place where you never thought that you could be. Because contrary to what the world tells you, or contrary to what you tell you, you matter. You're significant. And you might be misunderstood by others. You're understood by Him. He knows you. He knows your story. He knows where and how to meet you. He knew where and how to meet this world. So He showed up in a manger. And He showed up to surprising people. You've probably heard of this part of the story before in Luke chapter 2. It says that night there were shepherds guarding their flocks of sheep. The radiance of the Lord's glory surrounded them. These are shepherds, and when you look at, your nativity scenes, your shepherds are, these nice and peaceful figures. And it's not like shepherds had to be bad people, but the interesting thing about shepherds is they were notorious back in their days. They were notorious for stealing other sheep. They were notorious for protecting their sheep from other shepherds. In fact, they were so notorious for these things that they weren't allowed to live within the city walls. If you were in court, shepherds, their account wouldn't be counted as trustworthy in court. They couldn't give witness. These were the shepherds, and yet these are the people who Jesus' birth is announced to first. The shepherds. In God's presence, the Holy of Holies, yes, that God who spoke the world into existence, that God who freed His people from Egypt, that God who split the Red Sea, that God who rose people from the dead through the prophets' voices, that God who cast judgment on evil, that God shows up to these shepherds, the people who are left out, the rejects, the marginalized. And we sit here and we try so hard to get into these places to say, I matter, I'm important. Look where your God shows up. He understands your urge and your reason for why you feel like you have to do that. But He comes to you. You don't have to walk through gates. You don't have to jump over walls. He comes to you like He showed up for the shepherds. And imagine how scared they must have been thinking about that God, right? But the angels, it makes sense that they must have been terrified because the angels, they have to say to Him, or they have to say to the shepherds, don't be afraid. I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. I do think that it's interesting, anytime an angel shows up in the New Testament, they always have to say to people, don't be afraid. And we think that angels are just these like fluffy little figures that go on top of the manger scene in our homes. Like, I don't know what they look like, but there's something terrifying. Perhaps because there's such beauty and such power and such glory. I say, I bring you good news, great joy for all people. Everybody say good news. Go ahead and say great joy. Go ahead and say all people. Good news, great joy. All people. If you want to know what Christmas is about, this is what it's all about. It's good news, great joy, all people. It can all be summed up in this. It is good news that meets you where you are, how you are. Now, don't get me wrong, this good news can convict you, it can change you, it can grow you, it can transform you into something more beautiful than you ever dared to believe was possible. But first and foremost, it is good news. Do you remember what we say here on Kairos? Good news, which is the word for gospel. Good news tells you that you get to live. And this is what Jesus is presenting to you through Christmas. By saying, I'm here and I've shown up. He doesn't show up and say, I've got good instructions for you. And remember, good instructions. Good instructions tell you how to live, but good news tells you you get to live. And this fills them with this whole new kind of great joy. And because of this great joy, there's this natural tendency to bring it to all people. And that's exactly what the shepherds do. As the shepherds show up to the scene where Jesus is lying with His parents, it says, there was the baby lying in the manger. And the shepherds told everyone what had happened. Everyone what had happened. Again, let's review this really quick. So at Christmas, you get to come and see. You get to actually be welcomed into this space. Come on in, come and see. And what is it that you see? You see that there's good news, there's great joy, and it's for all people. Do you want to know if your faith is on fire? Do you want to know if your faith is alive? Do you want to know if your faith is active? Who are you telling about it? Sometimes in your words, sometimes in your deeds, but through your life, who are you telling about this good news? Has it sunk in? Has the weight of it actually bared itself in your soul? This is the most beautiful, glorious, incredible gift that you could ever receive. God himself has come to meet you. God himself has come to where you are. God himself understands you. God himself calls you holy. And you get a hold of something like that and it ignites you. I mean, why is it that you want to tell people about your Spotify Wrapped? Because you think it's really cool, don't you? And you just want somebody else to know about it. Why do I tell you about my wife? Because I think she's really cool. I want you to know about her. Why have so many of you invited your friends to Kairos? I mean, seriously. Kairos has not always looked like this. When we started, we were a group of about 30 to 40 people, and we were in an auditorium of about 800 people. It was painfully awkward every single week. And yet somebody was overwhelmed with good news that led to great joy, and it delivered to all people. Because when you receive something like that, you just, something happens inside of you. You want to share it, don't you? So I'm standing past the gate, right? And I'm with my brother, and the drivers are like right there with me. And as we're standing there, there's this one driver who might be like the most famous and popular driver that there's ever been. His name's Dale Earnhardt Jr. He drove number 88 later in his career. Earlier in his career, he drove number 8. And as he's walking up, there's this little boy who's behind the gate who's going nuts. He's decked out in Dale Jr. gear, right? Like he's so excited. He's screaming, Junior! Look at me, Junior! It's pretty good impersonation, honestly. Like, I know you come for Jesus, but you get a few other gifts along the way, okay? Junior! Because there's that desperation. You travel hundreds of miles to get in the presence of something great, and you just hope that they notice you. You're shouting, Junior! Like, and because there's some bit of humanity in me, I'm like, oh, this poor kid. Like, I could go meet him, but what? I don't know. He's so excited. He's shouting. And my brother's there. My brother looks at him, looks at Junior, looks at him. My brother squats down. He's like, hey, are you a Junior fan? Oh, yeah, I love Dale Jr. I want to go fast just like Dale Jr. It's how they all talk at NASCAR races. It explains a little bit of why I am the way I am. And my brother looks at me and goes, so I know him. John knows him well. He's like, he's really nice. He's a funny guy. He's kind of quiet. And the little boy's like, yeah, Junior, he's the best. And John goes, you want to meet him? Do I want to meet Junior? Do I want to meet Junior? Do I want to meet Junior? Junior! Yes! John looks at the security guard and he's like, he's with me. And to see somebody in that moment just feel like they matter more than ever because someone who was deemed significant and important mattered looked at him and said, well, you matter to me, so that means you matter. Christmas is God saying, you get full access, not because of what you've done, but because you matter to me. Because you matter to me. It's God saying, forget gates. I'm coming into your home. He became like us. John 1:14, the Word became human. He made his home among us. He's full of unfailing love and faithfulness. We've seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son. You're like, okay, so I matter to God, but why? Why all this? Why? Why human? Why the incarnation, God becoming human, the divine becoming flesh? Why that? Why did he have to go through all that? I get it. He understands me. He meets me where I am. But why all that? There's this beautiful story that's been told for a while. I want to close with it. There's a guy named Paul Harvey who used to read this. Paul Harvey was on the radio for decades and decades. And my mom would play Paul Harvey when she was driving us to school when we were kids. And I'll always say, Paul Harvey, good day. And every year around Christmas time, he would read this story to try to help people understand that this God, he really, really wants you to meet him. He really, really wants you to have this access. He understands you, and he wants you to understand him. It's upside down. The man I'm going to tell you about was not a Scrooge, Paul Harvey would say. He was a kind, decent man, generous to his family, upright in his dealings with other men. But he just didn't believe in all that incarnation stuff that the churches proclaim at Christmas time. God becoming human? Please. It just didn't make sense, and he was too honest to pretend otherwise. He just couldn't swallow the Jesus story about God coming to earth as a man. He told his wife, I'm sorry to bother you, I'm sorry to distress you, but I'm not going with you to church this Christmas Eve. He said he would feel like a hypocrite, that he would rather just stay home, but he'd wait up for them. So they stayed. So he stayed, and they went to the midnight service. Shortly after, the family drove away in the car. Snow began to fall. He went to the window to watch the flurries getting heavier and heavier, and then he went back to his fireside chair and he began to read his newspaper. Minutes later, there was a startling thudding sound on the window. Then another. Then another. At first, he thought someone must be throwing snowballs against the living room window, but when he went to the front door to investigate, he found a flock of birds huddled outside miserably in the snow. They'd been caught in the storm, and in a desperate search for shelter, they tried to fly through his large landscape window. That's what had been making the sound. Well, he couldn't let the poor creatures just lie there and freeze, so he remembered the barn where his children would keep their animals. That would provide a warm shelter. All he would have to do is direct the birds into the shelter. Quickly, he put on a coat. He trampled through the deepening snow to the barn. He opened the doors wide and turned on a light so the birds would know the way in. But the birds did not come in. So he figured that food would entice them. He hurried back to the house and fetched some breadcrumbs. He sprinkled them on the snow, making a trail of bread to the yellow lighted wide open doorway of the stable. But to his dismay, the birds ignored the breadcrumbs. The birds continued to flap around helplessly in the snow. He tried catching them, but he could not. He tried shooing them into the barn by walking around and waving his arms. Instead, they scattered in every direction except into the warm, lighted barn. And that's when he realized, they're afraid of me. To them, he reasoned, I'm a strange and terrifying creature. If only I could think of some way to let them know that they can trust me, that I'm not trying to hurt them. I'm trying to help them. How? Any move he made, it frightened them and it confused them. They just wouldn't follow. They would not be led or shooed because they feared him. He thought to himself, if only I could be a bird. If only I could be a bird and mingle with them and speak their language, then I could tell them, don't be afraid. I could show them the way to the safe, warm barn. But I'd have to be one of them so they could see, so they could hear, so they could understand. At that moment, the church bells began to ring. The sound reached his ears above the sounds of the wind. He fell to his knees, and he began to weep. A man becoming a bird, please. God becoming human. The God who spoke creation into existence. The God who freed his people from evil empires. The God who parted the Red Sea. The God who rose the dead to life. The God who casts judgment on evil and delivers righteousness. He became human so that you wouldn't be afraid, but so that you would know you do matter. You are important. You are holy. You're set apart. And you're set apart to be with him. I want to invite you to take your candle out as we close with a clip and then a song. Amen.
Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
So beautiful.
We must tell someone.
We must tell everyone.
Yes, we must tell everyone.
Everyone. Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've waited for this for so long. So long. What will you name him?
Jesus.
We will name him Jesus. I must go. People must know. People must know. People must know.
I invite you to stand and sing.
may extinguish your candles, but may the light of Jesus continue to shine in you and through you now and forever. Kairos, we love you so much. Truly, this was a holy moment, and I'm glad that you were all a part of it. For those of you who are graduating this semester, please know we love you so much. But as we told you every week, God loves you the most, and that love never, ever runs out. God, please don't let the smoke detectors go off. Please, God. We'll see. Nicole, what do you got?
You guys so much, and we hope you have an awesome break. If you have to head home, we wish you the best luck on finals. We're praying for you over break. If you want to stick around, we got lots of cookies to decorate in the big classroom out those doors and out in the lobby, and we'll have some trivia starting in just a little bit in the big classroom too. But we love you guys. God loves you the most.
Just so you guys know, you can leave your candles on the chairs. That'd be great. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.